Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is part two of my Artemis series. If you have not seen the first one, which is my informational, I recommend you go watch that one first and then come back to this one because this is more of a how to work with her over information about her. And then after this live, my final one in my three-part Artemis series will be a do it yourself, making your own offering bowl. I cannot talk. Bowl. B-O. Artemis speaks directly to the needs of witches today because she represents sovereignty, boundaries, intuition, and protection. Artemis represents sovereignty, boundaries, intuition, and protection. Qualities that are increasingly essential in the world today, especially one that demands constant availability and emotional labor. Her energy offers a counterbalance to modern overwhelm. She teaches us to step back into our instincts, reconnect with the natural world, and reclaim the parts of ourselves that feel hunted by stress, expectations, or social pressure. And yes, I used hunted. Hello, Patricia. How are you? Here's a brief review over what I talked about in my last live to kind of get you to introduce to Artemis again. Artemis is the Greek goddess of the hunt, wilderness, moon, and protection. She is also the goddess of childbirth and female sovereignty. Why we use Artemis in witchcraft and other type of spiritual events and paths. We use her for protection, independence, intuition, nature magic, and manifestation of abundance. Magical focuses with her should be protection spells, banishing, hunting, manifestation goals. So you have to look at when you're doing manifestation with her, that is more of a hunting for the goal over than just going for the goal, if that makes sense. And then obviously moon phase work. Since she is a goddess of the moon, her strongest suit when it comes to working with her, is protection and empowerment of women. She is very big on your freedom, your independence, you coming into your own power, and your self-empowerment. So if you're going through a stage where you have to do a lot of shadow work, where you're trying to reclaim yourself, this would be a perfect time to do that. And she is the perfect goddess for this. All right, so here is a little historical worship and symbolization. Let me just go through the comments. I'm glad you made it to Trisha. Yes, it definitely will be a fun one for that. Yes, Carol, I'll actually get into this. Carol asked, would she be good for the new moon? She is absolutely good for all the phases. And actually, I really do dig into that for you as well. Thank you. That is actually just my bare minimum altar because I'm going to be using the put stuff. I actually keep a lot of her outside because it's closer to the woods. So like this one right here actually sits outside on an altar. So here's a little historical worship of her. Ancient worship of Artemis as the protector of women wilderness, it was in both Greece and Asia Minor. Her symbolism within witchcraft now and then is a bow and arrow. So that's why we see a lot of her. It's going to be with the bow and arrow. See, even here, she's pulling the bow to knock it. And this bow and arrow is to represent focus, aim, and protection. The deer is for gentleness, which I had this little deer here. And you almost always will see her with a deer. I think this is the only artwork I have without her with deer. And then, of course, the moon, which is the moon cycles, intuition, and feminine power. Now let's get into some of her sacred animals, because she has more than just the deer. I thought this incense burner would be perfect because of it being the waterfall. So here are some of her sacred animals. The guinea fowl is a sacred messenger and a protector. The guinea fowl is sacred to Artemis at her main temple, where they roam freely as living offerings. Their sharp calls and alert nature made them a symbol of warning and vigilance. They sense danger before humans do. Community protection. They defend their flock loudly and fiercely. Messenger. Their sudden cries were seen as omens or divine alerts. Within modern witchcraft, the guinea fowl represents heightened intuition, early danger detection, and protection of boundaries, which is really cool to think that instead of doing a normal sacrifice, that offering was the live animal instead, and they had a ton of these around the temple at the peak. The next animal is kinda a animal that you more expect to see from her because the type of her hunting is with birds of prey. So her next one is a buzzard hawk, and this is buzzard hawk, and this is for the hunter's eye, is the representation of this. Birds of prey are deeply tied to Artemis, as I said, identified as the huntress, and the buzzard hawk in particular embodies keen sight, the ability to see what others miss, including hidden threats or opportunities. So this is a lot of that intuition stuff, your inside stuff. Precision and timing, striking only when the moment is right, mirroring Artemis's bow and arrow symbolization. Spiritual guidance. Hawks often appear in witchcraft as guides through transition or decision making. Artemis in modern day witchcraft. Hawks become a symbol of clarity, focus, and instinctive decision making. Hi, Atina. It's okay. I'm glad to see that you're here. And definitely the one thing that when I think of Artemis, I always think of her with the deer and the hawk. And I'm going to kind of skip ahead and then come back. When she's reaching out to me, I will actually have a hawk sitting on my fence or on the roof of my house. One time I had her on the car because I was really not paying attention. So she had the hawk sitting on my car staring at me before work one day. Um, Here's one that people may not know. Another one of her sacred animals, and this is just in general, is freshwater fish. These are for her goddess of birth, her being a goddess of virginity, and also for hidden depths. Artemis is strongly connected to freshwater springs, rivers, and pools, especially in her role as the protector of childbirth, guardian of the nymphs, goddess of the wild and untouched places. Freshwater fish represent life force and renewal. Flowing water is sacred to Artemis, and where there is flowing water, you have fish. Hidden intuition. Fish move through unseen depths, symbolizing inner knowledge. Purification. Artemis is awesome at freshwater sites used for ritual cleansing, which is definitely something that I do. I feel the most connected to her in the middle of the local woods next to this perfectly clear river. In modern day witchcraft, freshwater fish embody emotional clarity, intuitive depth, and spiritual cleansing. And then, of course, I know I went a lot into the deer in the other one, but her deer is her main symbol, and it's for mainly the hunt. The gentleness of the deer, the quietness of the deer, that's more when you're going to want to go into yourself. Carol, yes, the freshwater fish connecting to her is something that I actually found a couple years ago when I was doing another research for her. But it makes sense with her being by the rivers and streams and all that. And also, it's more to her goddess of the childbirth, goddess of being pure, being a virgin, stuff like that. So if you're not working with her on those aspects and you're more working with her as a huntress, the fish doesn't really come up. Atina says that's weird that she's connected to freshwater fish and she could be worshipped at local springs. That's actually not bad. Well, think about it. Then last month when I talked about where she turned the hunter into a deer, she was bathing in the spring. Like her little posse are nymphs, and a lot of them were river lakes and stuff like that. So it really does, when you think of her bigger picture, when she's in the woods, she does have freshwater as her domain within it. That's actually interesting to have. Tina said, I'm kind of curious if anybody has thought of carving out Artemis out of a buck's horn. I'm sure people have done that. I don't have the skill to do that, but I think that would be really cool. And if anybody finds one that she can do, I would definitely be interested in buying it. All right, so part 3 is going to be the signs that Artemis is reaching out to you. Some signs that she might be reaching out to you is deer. Deer everywhere. Deer in the places that you would not expect deer to be. One of my personal experiences with deer was I was sitting on my back porch. I was very bad at like connecting or anything, and I had her altar on the back porch at this particular apartment because across the street was woods, and a doe comes walking down the street because there's like a road behind us, an access road, and comes and lies down right in front of my screened-in porch, which I took as a huge sign to start working with her again. All right, so to get back to how she is reaching out to you, you would also find feathers or other natural items in unusual places. So I'm not talking about like a feather on the side of the road. I'm talking about you'll find a hawk feather in the middle of Walmart underneath a pile of clothes type of thing. Feeling a strong connection to nature or needing protection. Examples of how to interpret work with these signs. When you have a sudden feel or a solitude, for example, go ahead and go out into the woods. I always recommend being safe, so do it when in a safe place, maybe a park or something like that during the day. If you do go out at night, try to stay local to your own house or make sure you have your phone and GPS, and I'll come back to that as well. Now, when you have this feeling for solitude, you're gonna feel if you're feeling like you are being watched, if your instincts seem more heightened, like a hunter's instinct, you definitely want to go out during the night, pull to the moon. I actually had this the other night where I just had to go outside, so I went in my backyard outside. And you want to do safe nighttime walks. Like you definitely want to be outside. These are all signs that she is pulling to you. And these are great times to go outside and just sit with nature, just sit with the moon, stay still, listen, and she will definitely speak to you either physically or by like presence. And her presence is very much a motherly type of presence, or it's very much a huntress. Sometimes you feel like you have to go and stalk prey, for example, even though we don't hunt. It's that type of stuff. Or the other thing that you'll get is feel super, super, super empowered. All right, Wisteria, I will see you on the replay. Have fun. Patricia, since you have those feelings all the time, have you tried connecting with her? All right, so now we're going to get into plants and herbs and oils and incense to use with Artemis. Now, I kind of mixed them all together in this part, and then I'll divide them out once we get to the working with her. Spruce is connected to her and her brother's birth on Delphi. Mugwort, scientific name, is actually named after Artemis. It is linked to lunar cycles, fertility, and divination. This reference extends to it being used by women for menstrual and childbirth support in ancient Greek and Rome. Amaranth is a red flower that was actually grown in her cult center. You don't really use it for working with her, but it's just a cool fact to know that that's a plant that was grown around her. Palm trees are another one that are very symbolic because that is what her mother held on to while she was birthing the children. Cedar trees are often associated with Artemis because it symbolizes grief, strength, protection, and the untamed beauty of nature. In the context of Artemis, Greek trees represent the qualities of the goddess embodied, such as resilience and protection of wild places and animals. All type of nature, like woods trees, pines, all the different types of evergreens, anything that you will find in the woods would be trees that are sacred to her as well. Her favorite plant, which explains a lot because anybody that knows me, I'm obsessed with lavender, is lavender. Lavender is also associated with the goddess Artemis due to its calming and protective properties. It's believed to have been one of Artemis's most favorite plants, and many herbs were thought to be sacred to her. So this is definitely a plant that if you want to get good with Artemis, give it to her. Use your essential oils. The incense that I had going before it went out was a lavender incense. Another herb that is named after her, and I'm talking about the scientific herb names. I cannot pronounce them, that's why I didn't put them in there, but they both start, worm and mugwort starts with Artemisia, and then their other name is wormwood, who's primarily known as a herb associated with being rooted in the medical properties since with childbirth, since it kind of piggybacks off of her brother's medical nature as well. Another one that is a sacred plant for her is the juniper tree. This connection is rooted in the tree's medical properties and it's used in spiritual purification rituals. Juniper berries are believed to have healing properties and are associated with love and fertility. All right, does anybody have any questions so far? I just want to go through the comments really quick. Patricia, I am too. I am really, really good at getting the lavender growing, but it's the watering that I always struggle with. Because lavender almost likes to go thirsty before you water it again. Well, here's my problem. I let it die of thirst instead of watering it again, so I have to find my happy groove with watering them. Carol, sometimes I can't grow stuff from seed either, but it seems like when I don't start something from seed, I'm more likely to kill the plant, which is really strange. All right, so now that I gave you some of her sacred plants and some insight on how she could be reaching out to you, here's some basic connecting with Artemis tips. Again, the best places will be natural spots like forests, mountains, near water. If you have a waterfall or spring, that's a really good place to go, since she was always bathing in waterfalls and springs. Outside at night, especially under a full moon, which could be just in your backyard. Anywhere that's quiet outside at night, even if it's just your front step. Just being outside, connecting barefoot in the grass. Safety tip: when being outside alone at night, make sure that you protect yourself in the mundane. Try to stay within a radio cell service. Tell people where you are going, or even turn on your GPS tracking for a loved one who will watch it. Tell them what time you are planning to leave and when to come back. This goes for daytime and nighttime. Safety first, out in the woods. How to connect with Artemis. Spend time in nature alone. Focus on instincts and senses. You are going to want to just sit quietly and listen. If you can hear animals scurrying in the woods, do you feel breeze? Do you feel a presence? Are you hearing whispers on the wind? Stuff like that. Gaze at the moon. Go out and meditate under moonlight, either in your house through your window or out on your back porch. Leave small offerings like food for animals, so make sure it's safe for the animals that are local, herbs that are common to your area and are safe for animals, or poems out in nature. So if you're going to do a poem, I recommend writing it on a native seed paper and burying it so that it will sprout from the ground as well. Another amazing way to connect with Artemis, and I don't know if a lot of people know this about me, I actually do ocean rescue and wildlife rescue, acts of service, wildlife rescue, volunteering at different types of wildlife refuge, stuff like that. Environmental cleanup, if they're doing a beach cleanup, a road cleanup, a park, river cleanup, get in on those. Volunteering in these types of acts of services is very much Artemis coded. She will definitely want to have you do that. Carol, yes, Artemis is my main. I would call her my matron. She's definitely my main goddess. Here's another one that's kind of something that you can do, and it's not anything other than sitting in your room. And she does like chamomile for offerings. And as you know, she loves lavender. Just sitting and reflecting on her, drinking some chamomile and lavender tea. Another great thing, and you may not even know this or even think about this, a great devotional for Artemis is setting boundaries with other people. Every time you say no to something that is draining, do it in honor of Artemis. So you can tell somebody, no, I don't want to hang out with you, or no, I am no longer going to do this, and it will honor her. Renette, yes, you can clean up your neighborhood because that's outside. The main thing is kind of like Archangel Ariel. She's very big conservation. So anything that you can do to clean up outside wilderness, because anything outside a door is considered the wilderness, would count. Walking down your street for an hour and clean up stuff would work too. Absolutely. All right, so I'm just going to grab my book really quick because I like to do book recommendations, and since I'm getting into the spells and rituals part for Artemis, I actually had this given to me. Can you see it? As a gift for Secret Santa, and it is just a moon cycle magic book, and it literally will just go through all of it. And this book has a journal as well. So this is my recommendation for Artemis. Now, I went through and just did some basic stuff when it comes to spells and rituals only because there's so much that you can do and it's all for you. All right, so Monday is Moon Day. Monday is the day that you want to do most of your stuff with Artemis. If Artemis has a sacred day, it is Monday. Here are some spells to do. Protection spell for self. What you'll need is a pen, a piece of paper. Seed paper is amazing for this. If you can't do it with seed paper, get some lavender or mugwort seeds and put it in with this. You're going to want a silver pen or marker. If you don't have silver, use green. What you're going to do is you're going to name your intentions on the piece of paper. You're going to take it outside under a full moon, I think would be best for the intentions. A new moon also works. Really, any moon. I guess go outside and do it. Write your name of your intentions. Bury it in the earth with a small crystal like a black tourmaline. Make sure it's in a place that won't get dug up easily. And then you're going to say, Artemis, protect me from harm, keep me safe in body and spirit. And you're going to say that 3 times. And then if you use seed paper, or make sure that it is going to be a type of wildflower that is native, not invasive. If you're going to do lavender or mugwort seeds, put it in a little garden. You can even start like a moon spell garden too. Atina, it's every Monday. Monday is Moon Day. So you can do your main working with Artemis on Mondays. You can do it also with the moon cycles as well, but her like strongest day period where you can do any type of magic you need is on Monday. All right. So here is some information on moon magic with her. And since we were coming into a new moon, I wanted to start with a new moon. So new moons is the instinctive darkness of Artemis, the moment before the arrow is drawn, when everything is potentially successful and potent, but nothing is revealed yet. Why the new moon aligns with Artemis. This is the phase where she is most connected to inner self, inner wilderness. It's quiet, feral knowing that guides the hunt before it begins. As we know, new moon, new beginnings. This is when you're going to want to connect with her for those new beginnings type things. Hello, Ellen. How are you? Run it. Your silver pen means you need to get into this. Definitely. So these are the themes of the new moon. Intuition before action. So if you have anything that you really want to take some time to stew on, to not just jump into action, this is the best time to do this type of work. Inner guidance. This is a great time for your shadow work, connecting with yourself. New beginnings. If you want to start something over or you want to start something new, now's the time. Setting intentions, reclaiming your sovereignty. Like I said, the new moon is basically Artemis's badass time. The type of magical work to do on new moons would be intention setting, protection foundations, sovereignty, declaration. So this is definitely when you're needing to reclaim yourself. You're going to make your list and start putting those into action then. Your shadow work, your shadow journaling definitely is a great time to really dig into it on new moons, especially the deeper stuff. And I love calling this with her beginning the hunt, which is basically setting your goals. Because if you think about it, you're hunting down your goal. So this is when you're going to set your goal and start hunting it down. Now we're going to go on to your full moon. Full moon is Artemis in her full linear radiance, her protector, her guidance, and her compass, basically. This is when she's the fiercest of guardians. Why full moons align with Artemis. Her protective sovereignty energy is strongest here. So as you started on the new moon to set up your sovereignty, your full moon is when you're really going to go for it. This is with witches will feel her presence most strongly as well, because a lot of people only connect her with the full moon, but she is a transitional goddess, so she's connected with all phases of the moon. The themes of new moon are empowerment, protection, clarity, manifestation, and celebration. So this is definitely a great way that on your new moon, if you reached your goals because you started your hunt, on your full moon is the time to celebrate give your offerings, give yourself your pats on the back. The type of magic that you want to do on a full moon is going to be more protection spells because you set your foundation. Now you're really going to put your roof on your protection, your empowerment rituals, your self-care, abundance magic for your money, success, things like that, divination, and charging your tools to start over in your news cycle. Next is going to be, this is in no particular order, I just grabbed it as I thought of it. Oh, and yeah, I love using the hunting theme with Artemis. I know it's a little silly, but I feel like it fits with her. But when I set goals, I feel like I'm hunting that in line. Oxen Crescent. This is the moment when the hunt moon begins. So we planned it in our new moon. We took aim. Now's when we're loosing the arrow. The crescent moon is the bow, thin, sharp, and full of direction. Why this aligns with Artemis? She teaches us to track what we want, to notice signs, follow leads, and move with purpose. Listen to yourself. This has a lot to do with her inner intuition. Focus on clarity, focus in general, early action. So this is when you're starting to really jump into it. So this is when you're going to finalize your intentions and really start gathering what you need, because the next one is gathering your resources for your spell work and building confidence. So this is when, if you're not sure that full moon spell is going to work, this is when you start hyping yourself up. Also, the time to strengthen those boundaries. So if you set those boundaries in a devotional to Artemis and you told somebody no and they're not taking no for an answer, this is the time to start reiterating and rebuilding and reinforcing those boundaries. Wax and Gobblerless. This is the time for discipline, the focus part of the hunt, tracking, adjusting, sharpening. So we did not let go of the arrow yet. I got a little excited. We're still hunting, but we have that arrow and bow ready. Why this aligns with Artemis? She's not just wild, she is precise. This phase honors her discipline as a hunter aspect. The themes for this would be your tracking down your spell. So now's when you're going to be putting your steps into work. It is going to be all those little things that help you reach the big goal. So as you make your little goals, or as you make your big goals, this is when you're doing your little goals, your little manifestations, your little protections, your little help me with this, let's take aim, help me focus type of spell work. The type of magical work to do with this would be gratitude offerings, nature-based devotion, a lot of journaling. So this won't be that heavy shadow work. This will be your, I am strong, I am amazing, I am successful, I have my goals, I attain them, those type of affirmation, and sharing abundance. So from your last cycle, this is when you're going to do your acts of charity. This is a great time to do a lot of that community service, the service to the environment, stuff like that. So next will be the last quarter. The last quarter, this is Artemis as a purifier, burning away what is no longer served you. Why this aligns with Artemis? She is the goddess of ritual purification. This is her phase to cleanse her fire. So this is cleansing by fire. This is when you'll do a lot of your fire magic, your candle work, stuff like that. The themes are going to be your release, your cleansing, your endings, breaking patterns, and reclaiming energies. This is when you're going to be doing your banishments, your cord cuttings, your smoke cleansing, and your releasing of old identities. So all of that journaling that you did, especially like your shadow work stuff, I almost say burn it at this point. This would be when you burn it and release it. Absolutely. Renette said, if you say yes to something you really don't want to do because you want to avoid a conflict, you bring yourself down 100%. You don't want to chain yourself for somebody else. I know sometimes it's hard to say no to our family, but you have to remember, we're supposed to be our independent selves. So it's definitely okay to say no. And that's when, if you need help, you're going to do it during these moon phases. All right, so next is going to be your waning crescent. This is Artemis withdrawing from the forest. She just made her hunt, so we made our kill in the last quarter. We are successful hunters. This is when we're going to leave the forest, quiet and unseen and instinctive because we don't want to disturb the other animals around us. The themes for this is going to be your resting, your intuition, back to your inner work. So now you're going to reflect on everything you've done, preparation for rebirth. So we're getting ready for a new moon, solitude, and any type of healing magic that you need to do for yourself as well. Her two favorite hours are at dusk and dawn because those are the best times to hunt. It's right at the end of her night and the beginning of her night because she owns the night and her brother owns the day. So here's a hunt spell, which is for abundance. Take a walk in nature. Focus on what you want to hunt, your goals. Leave a small offering for the animals. Make sure it's a safe food for the animals. The themes for this one is refinement, discipline, skill sharpening, adjusting your aim. So we'll go back to the spell in a second. First quarter is going to be the phase of tension and choice. So this is when you decide to make your commitment. And then you're going to go through your waning goblet. This is the phase where you give back. So that links with your waxing. All right. So now we're going to go back to the abundance spell. So as you're walking through the forest, you're going to say, Artemis, guide me to abundance, like a hunt. Another great one that I have for you guys is a vanishing ritual. Write what you want to release on a piece of paper. Burn it under a full moon. As you're burning it, you're going to say, Artemis, I release this. Let it go with the light of the full moon. And then I will also type up for you guys all of the moon magic as well, and I'll post it in the event. I'll probably do that this week. I'll make cute little graphics for you guys. I just want to put out a ecological safety reminder. This is super important to Artemis. We don't want to be worshiping the goddess of the woods and the wilderness and destroying the wilderness. Only use native seed paper. Do not leave crystals in nature. That's why I said with the tourmaline, when you bury it, put it someplace like in a pot or something that you're going to take it back. Offer food that's safe for local wildlife. Patricia said, I started putting up a lot of boundaries and people really don't like that. You find out who's really there for you when you do. Yeah, including family. That is absolutely true. You see a lot of people not like it and they will actually exit your life. But that's probably a good thing as well. Patricia said, it really sucked. I was so lost there for a while and hurt. But I'm less stressed. I walked away from a lot of people after this. That's really good. I love that. Because at the end of the day, it's about us. We have to look out for ourselves. Alright, so here's some empowering women with Artemis. Artemis as the goddess of womanly sovereignty, independence, and strength. She embodies the power of being untamed, connected to nature and instincts. Here's a spell for sovereignty. Write down where you want to claim power in your life. Burn a piece of paper with old patterns and limitations while calling to Artemis. Say, I claim my wild power just like Artemis. Artemis, help me claim your wild power. Getting loud like I just did definitely is a part of it. Take a moonlit walk alone in nature under the moon, focusing on self-trust and inner guidance. Again, make sure you have your phone with you and make sure people know where you are just to be safe. Offerings of empowerment is another one that you can do to empower yourself. Offer Artemis things symbolizing independence, like a small bow arrow charm. Leave a poem about female strength. This could be one that you write yourself or one that you find that you really like. And then the most important about this empowering yourself is maintaining it. Make time for solo nature time. Trust your instincts. Check in with yourself like you checked in with a wild animal. So you're definitely going to want to tend to yourself as well. Here's some devotional and prayers for all paths. These are prayers that are non-witchcraft prayers. Artemis of Wild Path, keeper of instinct and moonlit truth, walk with me. Artemis, guide me in independence and strength. Help me trust myself. Here's some devotionals within witchcraft. Light a candle, silver, gold, green, stuff like that. I'm going to also show you when it comes to candles, you can use like the silver or gray candles too. But like these are the candles, and I'll go into it more. I just want to show you as I'm talking about it. I do a lot of silver gray with her and a lot of white because I work a lot with her moon aspect and her like virgin goddess aspect. So you're going to light a candle, reflect on Artemis's themes, protection, wilderness, the moon. That's why I recommend the silver. Now this is going to be a journaling one. So you can do this over a few nights. And you're going to use these prompts. Where in my life am I still asking for permission? Where am I being called to protect my energy more fiercely, the way Artemis protects her secret spaces? What part of my life feels most wild right now? And what is that wilderness trying to teach me? When have I ignored my intuition recently? And what would have happened if I had trusted it instead? What relationships or situations feel like a chosen nymph cycle? Supportive, sacred, and aligned. Which do not. So basically, you want your inner circle and then who is not within that inner circle. So you have your tribe, your team, your people. Who is not? Who's trying to bring you down? What goal or desire am I hunting? What obstacles do I need to release to pursue it? With Artemis's clarity and focus. Here's some offerings to give as well for your devotionals, your nature walks, writing poems, write about her, write about nature, write about wildlife, write about female empowerment, leaving small gifts in nature. This is why I say I have an altar for her outside. It's actually a greenhouse altar where I can zip it up and down so the animals cannot get to it. So I will put my offerings in there and zip it up. And so it's closed in. And then I always collect them in the morning. That way no animals can get into our offerings. And definitely another reminder I'm going to say is we're going to want to work with and protect nature and not destroy it. So you never want to do anything that is going to cause harm to the wilderness or nature. All right, so next is going to be divination with Artemis. Now, I actually have a special deck that I use with her. It is a holographic deck. It's just a regular deck. And I'll show you some of the cards here, but this is what it looks like. Artemis shows up in terror, and not just as a single card, but a constellation of energies: intuition, sovereignty, wilderness, protection, and discipline. Focus on the hunt. These cards help us understand how she moves through our lives and our magic. Use cards for protection, independence, and intuition themes. One thing I do want to clarify is that the card itself is more what we're looking at than like the little meanings that you get, especially like for example the moon. When you're doing the card. So we're going to look at the picture of the card or even the name or what it represents. I am going to give you the meanings to the card still in reversed and upright just so that you have them, but that does not necessarily mean these particular things are represented. For example, the moon card is the physical moon that represents her. So if you're asking who's reaching out for me in a deity tarot pull and you get the moon, you definitely know it's probably Artemis that is going to be talking to you because this card represents her. And then you'll also get these other cards in the pull as well because she has a blue. So we're going to start with the moon card. The moon card mirrors Artemis's connection to cycles, intuition, and the liminal spaces between seen and unseen. This is Artemis's lunar instinct. The meaning of the cards: upright. So this is just within a normal tarot reading. Hidden enemies, danger, darkness, deception, of error. Reverse meaning is instability, inconsistency, silence, lesser degrees of deception and error. Now, if you notice, those are all the things that she works against. So it's really interesting that that's her card. So she's actually probably telling you to work against it when you pull it in a deity pulling. Her next card is going to be strength. Strength embodies Artemis's protection, sovereign nature. This is Artemis as the guardian of women, children, and animals. As the goddess who channels power without domination. The card's meaning is upright, power, energy, action, courage. Reverse, abuse of power, weakness, and discord. Her next card is Empress. Though she is the goddess of childbirth and women, the card fits better for her sovereignty of women. Both embody raw, generative power of the natural world. Both represent abundance that comes from wild ecosystems, not domestic agriculture. Both are sovereign female figures who answer to no one, meaning upright. Fruitfulness, action, long days, the unknown. Reverse, light, truth, public, rejoice. The Temperance. The Temperance aligns with Artemis' role as the purifier and guardian of sacred spaces. It reflects Artemis as the keeper of thresholds, where instinct meets clarity. The meanings, upright, economy, management, and accommodation. Reverse is unfortunate combinations, disunion. Her next card is going to be the Nine of Pentacles. This card is practically Artemis in the human form. I always laugh because whenever I think of her as a human, she looks like her and she's absolutely gorgeous. You can't see her face, but she's beautiful. This is Artemis's independent huntress energy, living richly on her own terms. Upright, prudent, safety, success, expense, attitude. Reverse is going to be your deception, voided project, or bad faith. Her next card is going to be the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands channels Artemis's fiery, untamed leadership. This is Artemis as a fearless guide and protector, especially for women and liminal beings. Meanings, upright, dark woman, friend, chaste, so it's her virginal energy, loving and honorable. Reverse, good, economical, but can also represent jealousy, deceit in life, and infidelity. Her final card is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords mirrors Artemis's sharp instincts and readiness. It reflects this is Artemis's hunter's clarity, the ability to sense what others miss. This is your intuition. Upright, authority overseeing, secret service, vigilant, I cannot talk, examination. Reverse, the dark side of qualities and the unforeseen, unprepared state. Sickness is also intimidated. So it's also intimidation. So you feel so intimidated you're sick. Here's a nice 3-card spread to pull that is Artemis inspired. Number 1 will be your current wild energy in life. Number 2 will be what needs protected, and number 3 will be guidance from Artemis. And I will definitely write that up for you guys as well. Let me take a moment to read through this. All right, so Renette said, probably toxic people. Thank you about the cards. I absolutely love those cards. I felt like they were really like moon type of cards. All right, Tina, she has to step away, so I will definitely catch you on the other side. Catch you later, Carol. Thank you, Ellen. Yes, it's definitely a Artemis spread. Alright, so now for the altar setup. Let me go ahead and clear some of this stuff away. And you can also take all these cards and put them on your altar as well. So you're definitely going to want in your altar silver, green, white, earth tones, moon motif, stars, stuff like that. Your metals you're going to want are going to be silver and bronze for hunting and protection. Your crystals and stones are going to be moonstones. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move you guys down. All right, they're going to be moonstones, clear quartz, black tourmaline, and deerstone, petrified wood, which I cannot find my piece of wood to save my life right now. I think she took it. Symbols are going to be your bows and arrows, deer, your Artemis statues, your paintings, your pictures. This is metal. You're going to want elements of nature, and I have 2 bowls that I'm going to show you shortly. Incense that you're going to use is going to be your cedar, your lavender. I also like to use blends, so like a full moon blend and a protection blend, as I just throw my incense all over. Great, bud. Give me 1 second. I just dropped incense in my dog's water, so let me pull this away so he doesn't drink that. Alright, and then some essential oils you can use is going to be cedar, lavender, cypress. Here's my cedar. If you have guinea pigs, do not use this anywhere near guinea pigs. And then here's some lavender. And then here some herbs. This is not limited to, I just did the ones that I have. I have some juniper berries, of course, lavender,